We are live now. We are live, podcast
We're live.
audience. You should have caught it on YouTube. We were live for however long we were live for tonight. Probably, I didn't really announce this to that many people, so we probably should have done a better job promoting this, but
We need a new marketing specialist.
we really do. I reserve moments like this and sentences like this for the biggest moments. This is a family show. We try to keep it PG, maybe PG 13. Holy shit. Will, what just happened? That was nuts. Oh my gosh, Dustin's in now too. Let me edit the video so that way Dustin's in here. So we're going to be super tiny. Actually, let me just move this up here, move this up here. We're editing on the fly now. Dustin, can you hear us? We'll get Dustin figured out here in a second. That was nuts. The Vikings are so back. We're going to give our thoughts and prayers to this game and to the Chicago fans that are in stunned disbelief here in a moment. We'll give like a full analysis or whatever you want to call it. But holy cow, Will, how are you feeling about that Vikings game that we all just watched?
So, as the fourth quarter was about to begin, I walked into our bedroom and, basically told my wife, I think it's over. Not really, but kind of like it's not going well. And I grabbed the box of cereal because I was like, might as well have a snack. It's not going great. And then once I started eating cereal, things turned around. So I don't know what that tells you. But I wrote the same 8 letters that you just evoked, Jordan, in all caps on my notes as I was watching that game, because that was one of the weirder games and the Vikings have had some weird ones. And I went from feeling that this was a disappointing loss to all of a sudden thinking that, like, oh my gosh, we could win this game in about 8 minutes. It wasn't quite Buffalo over Baltimore from last night, but there were shades of it in the beginning of that fourth quarter. AJ McCarthy's going to get a lot of the praise, and he's going to get a lot of the, national media heaping on him because he led a comeback down the stretch. And there's our guy, Dustin. Welcome to the show. But this game was as much about what the defense did in the first 75% of it to keep the game alive as it was the offense, and especially the young quarterback flipping a switch down the stretch.
Yeah, I 1,000% agree with that. Dustin, welcome in. We're joined by Dustin Baker, the head everything, I think, over at VikingsTerritory.com. Excellent stuff, fund of the program. I'm trying to figure out where to put this little Vikings helmet, and I don't think there's a good place for it, so I'm going to try and figure that out, but who cares about that? Dustin, your instant reaction to J.J. McCarthy becoming the greatest QB in Vikings history.
Can you guys hear me all right?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. All right, perfect. All right. I have a lot to get off my chest, so I'll just start simple. If you would have told me 5 hours ago or a week ago, the Vikings are going to go into Soldier Field and win 45-0, and McCarthy's going to throw 5 touchdowns, or you could have him look like garbage and the team look like garbage, and then he orchestrates a comeback that almost happened like that, I would take the latter because I want to know what type of gumption and grit the guy has. I had this odd sense of optimism the entire game because I knew this guy wasn't built to be utter trash, even in his first game. I thought he'd have his ups and downs, we'd see some woes, and then the Vikings would probably lose by a field goal. But when he turned it in, when he locked in, it's like that pick six was medicine that he took. I am floored that he turned out to be this good, this early, and it was like a switch was flipped. I just tweeted about 20 minutes ago, if this would have happened on like December 8th, December 10th, we would have done cartwheels and said, look, Ma, we got our guy. But it happened in his very first game, let alone like, hey, let's wait till he matures and in December maybe he'll be, 4-9 and he'll have some. No, he did this right away. So I'm really glad it happened against the Bears. It was almost like a meme when Caleb Williams missed that one throw that was wide open. If he makes that throw like a normal human quarterback would do, you'd be like, all right, here we go. We got a ball game. But he sailed it over his head. Right now, for me, Caleb Williams is just an escape artist. That's all that I really see him. He has a lot of time to turn it around. But what a fantastic night to be on a show like this when it feels like for all of our lifetimes, for a night only, that the Vikings found their guy.
Yeah, it's crazy you were talking about the optimism. The optimism had just left my body. And I think I was at the lowest point I've been at as a Vikings fan since 17. And I think I was past that point. I watched the games. I say this every time I talk about watching the games. I watched them with my dad and my brother. It's like a religious thing now. I go over to his house and we all sit in the living room and we watch the game. And man, I was so deflated. I told my dad I did not think this was the flow. I thought worst case scenario, we're going to get, I don't know. I can't say Kirk Cousins because Kirk Cousins was actually really good. So I'm trying to think of who it would be, but like, I don't know. I mean, like, I don't remember Ponder that well because I think I was one of the
Johnson.
Maybe, yeah. Just like I thought we were gonna get like a mid game manager, not complete ineptitude, and that's what we got for 3 quarters, and then I don't know. This is my running theory, gentlemen. You let me know what you think of it. The Vikings, specifically Kevin O'Connell, were overcoaching McCarthy for 3 quarters of that game. I think O'Connell was in his ear saying you need to look at Hawkinson. Then if Hawkinson's not open, you got to go to JJ. And then if JJ's not open, you got to go here. And then if you know what I mean, like I feel like he was in his head the entire time. And something happened to go like at the end of that game, not the end of that game, the last 15 minutes of that game. McCarthy played loose. He looked like he was free. He was executing the offense at a high level. 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. It just felt like maybe O'Connell said, just go out there and play. I also didn't love the play calling for a lot of that game. It felt very like, hey, we're going to have everybody on stick routes. And anytime we don't have somebody on stick routes, they're going to drop the ball. And so I kind of felt bad because I knew what the narrative was going to be for JJ. But then that pick 6, I mean, I was in a bad place, gentlemen. So for him to come back and I'm wearing my JJ McCarthy t-shirt. I turned it inside out. I said, I don't want to see his face. My dad's like, stop high-fiving your teammates. You don't deserve to high-five your teammates, JJ. You're playing like crap. I just felt so low, but yeah, man, I'm pretty high right now on this feeling. And I have a question I want to pose to Will after you get some more stuff off your chest. Would you rather have won the exact way we did tonight and JJ everything happens the way it just did? Or would you rather have lost on a walk-off field goal, but JJ threw for 350 yards and no picks and had like 5 touchdowns? You know what I mean? Like he has this tremendous debut, but they lose. Oh, he shows the gumption and you win. Which, like, is one better than the other?
It's obviously this way. Not just because there's a tally in the left-hand column and not in the right-hand column, but it's also because what have we lived as Vikings fans for the last 6 years? Love him or hate him, Kirk Cousins was blamed, categorized as empty calories stat patter guy. He'd throw 450, 3 touchdowns, and the Vikings would lose 33-24 against the Lions. And it was sort of this, like, obviously 4 touchdowns doesn't work in that scenario, but just bear with me. This idea of, like, empty stats, empty calories was a thing that Kirk Cousins was sort of, labeled as, and what was it always said? And what have we lived? It's like, well, a lot of these big games, it's like, I don't know, we're not coming through. And whether it's the quarterback, whether it's somebody else, whether it's like, I had my younger brother text me at one point during the game, and he just said, "I hate Monday Night Football," because there's this idea in Vikings land that we always kind of shrink and back away under the pressure. I much rather have this outcome. I don't care what the stats are. And I'm not advocating for or against the idea of quarterback wins, but whether or not McCarthy threw 140 yards or whatever it was, or 440 yards, he did what he needed to do in the fourth quarter, absolutely flip a game on its head. And that's huge. Like Dustin said, the moxie and the charisma and the it factor, whatever you want to call it, he had it. And I think this was something, and this is the last thing I'll say. I've had people ask me things like, well, do you think McCarthy's going to, be up for the task? Is he going to be able to handle the pressure of being the young quarterback with a really talented roster, and all the pressure's on him? And this was the one thing that I was pretty certain of with J.J. McCarthy, is that he's not going to be overwhelmed by the moment. He won a national championship when he was, just barely 21 years old, not even 21 years old. And he lost one game in his career at Michigan. He led a team through a scandal. The whole world was hating on Michigan. They won the national championship. I'm not worried about the mind of this kid. So,
and the nice thing
just
is,
edifies that, solidifies it.
That's the most pressure I think he's going to be under, unless, God willing, we make the postseason with him. So, assuming this goes to plan, and he ends up being good enough that you can make the playoffs with what I think we all consider to be a stacked team, until January, when is he under more pressure? First game, Monday Night Football, on the road. You have 200 family and friends, I think was the number that people were throwing out there. Like triple digit people watching you. And oh, by the way, you're down 10 and you have looked bad for the entirety of the game. And there were moments there where I thought he was going to get it going. He almost rushed for a big first down, got tripped up, it turned into a sack. He almost had, a couple of throws where it felt like his throwing motion got disrupted by a pass rush, and it turned into not that, it turned into an incompletion because of that. Jefferson had 2 drops. I don't care how good or bad the balls were, they were drops. You got to make those catches. This wasn't CeeDee Lamb going full extension at the end of the Cowboys game, and we're chalking that up as a drop. These were, they hit you in the hands and wrist, and you're the best receiver in football, or you're supposed to be the best receiver in football. Some people would disagree with me. So, yeah, man, adversity, that's pressure, all of it. Is he a diamond? Dustin, are you sold on the guy after the one game, or is it still up in the air?
Oh, I'm sold on him. If he did this in his first game, there is no way, my friends, this was an utter accident. The Vikings don't stumble into accidents like this where, hey, remember that time in his first start, he let it come back and then we never saw that again? That's not going to happen. When he threw a pick six the game to a former Viking, the game went to 17-6. He should have folded like, a chair in the summer at the beach. He should have been done like Darnold in 2018 in his debut when he looked moronic. That should have been it. He should have been cooked. I remember the night we drafted McCarthy, I was very vivid a pro Drake May guy, and so was my good friend Yannick Eckhart. I remember him messaged me. He said, well, at least we got the third down in the clutch guy. Because that, to what Will was just saying, that was McCarthy's MO in college, was he's good on third downs, he's good in the clutch. And I was like, you know what? I can get behind that. He's the first quarterback in NFL history to account for 3 touchdowns in his debut start in the fourth quarter. And this happened to the Minnesota Vikings. It feels almost surreal. You were talking earlier about how bad he looked in the first quarter. I am convinced 2 things. Kevin McConnell cannot coach small ball, Mike Zimmer second half offense when you're up by 14 points. He cannot do it. He looks like an imbecile when he tries. I know they wanted to do this with purpose. They wanted McCarthy to settle in, pick up a couple boring first downs. I get it. But Kevin O'Connell is not cut out to coach like that, nor do you have to do that with McCarthy. He proved tonight you don't have to use kid gloves. Now, we don't have to throw it 60 times a game like I'm pretty sure O'Connell would like to do if you just left him to his own devices. But henceforth, against the Falcons in 6 days, you don't have to start a game like that again. We already saw McCarthy's fearless. He has bounce back ability. He's going to be fine. Second, the offensive line finally got its shit together in the second quarter. I had people from all over the country messaging me like it was my fault. Like, hey, how'd they spend $115 million in offensive line and it looks worse than the Dakota Dozier days? I'm like, I don't know, dude. I think it'll get better, but I don't know. It's been pretty rough. Christian Darrisaw wasn't there. That mattered. But once they got it together, you saw it palpably. It also happened to be right when Adam Thielen decided he couldn't catch and Justin Jefferson was looking like CeeDee Lamb. So all of that shit was coagulating. We're like, is this one of those nights? But I kept having this glimmer of hope. I've seen enough at McCarthy at Michigan. I've read enough shit from people who matter. Jim Harbaugh, Harrison Smith, TJ Hawkinson. Every single one of these guys goes to bat for JJ McCarthy. Not all of these guys are going to be wrong in unison. I kept thinking, God, there's a way that they're going to pull this out. And they did. In case we don't get back to this, Eric Wilson was a madman. And I don't know if the Vikings win tonight without Eric Wilson. I thought when they signed him, I was like, oh, that'll be fun on special teams. Well, it's probably going to be fun on, the starting defense because Blake Cashman's doing Blake Cashman things. He's going to miss a few games, I'm guessing, with a hamstring or something like that. But Eric Wilson, every time I looked up, he was doing something impactful. So in addition to the Adam Thielen reunion, welcome that bastard back to Minnesota. He was fantastic.
I think we only got the one sack tonight, and this is something to take solace in. This is, I have to shift my head out of what are the silver linings in this loss to, oh crap, we won the game. we effed around and did the thing. So I guess not a silver lining, just a positive. Against most NFL QBs, Michael Penix next week, Joe Burrow, that D-line is getting after it. And I think they should have had 6 sacks tonight that Caleb Williams did. Oh, he's a generational mobile QB things and extended plays and did whatever. But I know we all loved Harrison Phillips and he's a Jet now. But man, how nice was it to see the interior D-line blow through and get some pressure on Caleb up the middle. It was so nice. I felt like I was watching prime Kevin Williams, like those Vikings defenses just, oh my gosh, we can pressure from inside and make the QB flush out like that instead of watching, our really good pass rushers on the edges just get wheeled all the way around and then there's no pressure and we get picked apart all night long. Like, it was so nice. I wanted to point it out.
Yeah, there were to that point, there were 3 times in this game where a defensive tackle got pressure. And I did this thing where I was like, well, what edge rusher is that? Like, I was trying to figure out, God, that guy's chunky for an edge rusher. I was like, no, we have Hargrave now and Jonathan Allen. We can get used to defensive tackles doing this. It happened 3 times, and I finally God, this is embarrassing. I don't even remember what it was like for a DT to consistently get pressure in the guts of the defensive line. That was wild.
Even Jalen Redmond had some moments, and we knew this. They traded Harrison Phillips because they sold from a position of strength, and opened things up in the pocketbook to go get Adam Thielen, etc. But so this shouldn't be coming as a surprise. But I think something that it's not as exciting as what we saw from McCarthy, because we all know how important the quarterback position is to win football games. But the middle of the field and what the Vikings did in the trenches, they have a unit now on both sides of the ball. And I mean, I was sitting there almost just mouth agape, seeing how it was the running game that got the Vikings back into this game. It was the running game that gave the Vikings the chance to run out the clock at the end. And yes, JJ McCarthy had that awesome naked boot touchdown run to sort of ice the game. But that was all set up by mainly Jordan Mason and a little bit of Aaron Jones. And it's not Adrian Peterson again. I know it's not that same level of ferocity out of the backfield, but to have somebody in the backfield with Jordan Mason, but then mainly just the guys up front to block for, the back and be able to lean on the run game in a close game down the stretch. You need to kill clock. I mean, they killed, what was it, 5 to 7 minutes off the clock on that final drive.
Yeah.
Which basically put the game away. That's something
which the
that,
O'Connell Vikings never do.
No, and that was just hugely encouraging.
I want to.
Well,
Oh, go ahead. Nope, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say the O'Connell Vikings, as good as they have been, 34-17 since he got here, they do not run the football to close out a game. Like, they try to, they think about it, but oh shit, it's 3rd and 7. We might as well throw it. I think that's what former quarterbacks do. Yeah, like, and so to see them, their version of it, it wasn't absolutely pristine, but it was noteworthy. We haven't experienced that from the good part of the Zimmer days.
I feel like there's no correct answer aside from have the best O-line and, like be the Philadelphia Eagles basically to the final Vikings drive of the night. Okay, you're getting the ball. There's a minute and 50 seconds. They have one timeout. Figure it out. You know what I mean? Do your best. Because, like, you're going to run the ball. If you throw it and JJ makes a play, you look like a genius and JJ just puts a cherry on top of the night. If you run it, you run the clock down, you give them the ball with 10 seconds remaining. So I feel like that drive I don't want to punish O'Connell for, but the one before it, and this speaks to the JJ was playing loose thing that I was saying earlier. JJ, I'm thinking of the one pass, I think it was on 3rd down. They brought like a 0 blitz, Chicago did, and JJ, as soon as he got the ball, knew, okay, I'm going to Jalen Naylor on a crossing route because he's in single coverage and he's going to be right here, and there was a PI on the play. Now, Chicago fans, I'm sure, will tell you it was not PI. I didn't love the call. Personally, it looked like Naylor just kind of lost his footing, and Chicago happened to have their hands on Jalen Naylor. I didn't think it was a push down. Either way, that showed me, McCarthy is... He's him. I don't want to say he's him. That's too much. But you know what I'm getting at. He is ready for the moment. He was ready for the 0 blitz. He knew exactly where to go. He felt comfortable in the offense, and I think that was a huge moment for me, even though it was a pass that fluttered incomplete and it extended the drive because of other reasons. But that was a nice, like Will said, that was like a 5.5 minute touchdown drive where you go up 2 possessions and you really ice the game, or at least you get as close to icing the game as you possibly can. I'm concerned. I have reasons to be concerned. I think we all do. The secondary kind of didn't look good. Caleb Williams just missed a lot. So, yeah, look, I'm happy Caleb Williams still looks like he sucks, but the secondary, there were a lot of blown coverages on that last drive. DJ Moore should have had a touchdown, and then that game gets really interesting because they score early instead of scoring with like 2:02 left, and then the kickoff happens and you bring it out, and that takes a timeout away from them basically. There were just a few where it looked like these guys are too open and Caleb's just missing them, and that is, to me, a reason for concern. And I've seen this play out where we play a bad QB in week 1, we all get super high on the defense because, they're so good, and we got a pass rush, and it was epic. And then we go and we play like an actual QB. I don't know if it'll be next week. Penix looked good against Tampa. I think the jury's still out on him and all those guys, but I like week 3 against Joe Burrow. If you give him guys that open, he's punishing you for that. And you're not going to get away with, the defense held us in this game. So I think next week is crucial to me against Atlanta. Training wheels got to come off. They got to come off early. We got to be prepared to go into a shootout with Cincinnati because I think that is a game that if we win it, we have to put up 30. And I maybe I'm too pessimistic on the defense and the pass rush will save me, but the secondary didn't shine in my eyes tonight, except for Jay Wild. Just laying lumbo on DJ. Legal, by the way. I know they flagged it, but the legal hit. Shoulder to ribs. Just eviscerated that man. It was beautiful, but yeah, I don't know. Let's stop nitpicking this win. We can't be too happy for too long.
When you start getting anxietal about the defense these next 6 days, I'll remind you of 2 things. You're not going to face an escape artist like Caleb Williams next week, or pretty much any week besides Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, maybe Kyler Murray if he's in a good mood. The 6 times, let's just go with that random number that he escaped. 4 times that son of a bitch is going to be on the ground if it's a normal quarterback. So I think that takes a little bit of heat off the secondary and how the defense looks as a whole. And the other thing is, we already know this defense is good. Like, it was second in the league last year behind the Broncos, EPA per play and DVOA. So while the secondary didn't look crisp tonight, we don't have to be like, well, shit, the defense ranked 27th last year. Think it'll be good this year? We already know that the defense on its floor is like number 12 best in the NFL. So I think you'll see the improvement. But yeah, to your point, there were concerns. Like, there were concerns for me that when the Vikings weren't throwing the football against an utterly depleted Bears secondary, like, they had morons at cornerback. I mean, Nashawn Wright proved me wrong with the pick six, but like when we were in that anemic hour and a half, like, oh my god, this is really going to be one of those games. It felt like the 49ers game of 2015, the Monday Night Football opener, and that was Bridgewater's first primetime game. Yeah. It felt like that, and I was like, we're going to lose this game to probably the worst batch of cornerbacks you could ever imagine, because we're not even trying to throw at them. So I see what you're saying on the defense, but I think we can hope that it's going to get right, because we already know that the talent is there and the coach is there. Maybe it was some week one jitters.
I hope so. Will, what are your thoughts?
I think Harrison Smith being out doesn't help. Do I think what is he, 35 at this point?
36.
Safety is gonna save your entire secondary? No. But also, I think I want to try and remember as well that this defense is built more on the front seven than the back four. And not that you just say it doesn't matter how the secondary played, but the part of the reason why Caleb Williams is missing open receivers is because he has Jonathan Allen in his lap and Jonathan Grenard to his left and Andrew Van Ginkel jumping over people right in front of him. And so that's part of the reason why he's missing open people. I also think, to play devil's advocate to my own take, I think there is, the note that I made about Caleb Williams is that he still just looks very unpolished. And when it was scripted in the first half, he looked like he knew how to play quarterback. Most of that was just under control, taking easy completions. He left some bigger plays on the field, and Troy Aikman was calling those out on the broadcast, but he was making the right play. And then once sort of everything got muddy, it didn't go so well for Caleb Williams. So there could be a little bit of both. I mean, we're sort of in this post-game euphoric haze, and so there's not as much objectivity looking at it, but I do have a little bit of worry. Do we trust Jeff Okudah to be the third cornerback? I mean, this is something that we talked about last week, Jordan. Like, our best slot cover guy at this point, if we're going to say Byron Murphy is covering on the outside and not in the slot, is probably Josh Metellus. And so, although we love Josh Metellus, he's not a slot corner. And so it could be a thing that, lets the Vikings down from time to time. Am I overtly worried at this point? Not yet.
I think there's I want to get back on the happy fun time, JJ McCarthy is him conversation, because I don't want this to turn into a show where we just nitpick a win, because a win is a win. And like I said, I think I will put it best. Euphoria is the feeling. We're all just kind of in this post-win glow at the moment. And so I'm curious, maybe this is just me being a generational hater of the Detroit Lions, but it was kind of cool that, Aaron Glenn lost, Dan Campbell lost, now I can't even remember his stupid name, and I should, because thank you, Ben Johnson lost. I'll remember his name when he wins an NFL game. How's that sound? So it is kind of cool that they all lost. That's pretty cool for me. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of like other cool stuff that happened. Are you guys concerned at all about? Go ahead, Will. Go ahead.
Well, I think one thing, it was interesting sitting watching this game, because I cannot put myself in the shoes of a Chicago Bears fan. But as the fan of a team who has, seen heartbreaking losses from time to time, I can understand the feeling of, losing a game that, was well within your grasp. And I don't know, man. I think this has to hurt almost more than those Eberflus losses last year. And
oh yeah.
yes, I know on the post game, Buck and Aikman were spinning it positive that they found their coach. They're still not sure if they found their quarterback, but there's some things to build on. I'm not sure if I'm a Bears fan right now. I'm really thinking about things to build on because you had an 11-point fourth quarter lead against a 22-year-old quarterback who looked completely lost, and you fumbled the game away, and it's the same old Bears in a lot of ways. And I know it's 1 week. We all overreact after 1 week, one way or another, but man,
But Will, have you factored in that they won the offseason?
Yes, I did. And I think that's actually why it hurts more.
It's look, and I'm not trying to. I'll give this take for the 25th time because Dustin's here, and I've never given it in front of him. They win the offseason every year, and they end up picking top 10 every year. I don't like. When are we going to stop being bean boozled by the Chicago Bears? Did you notice the little pun with the bean? I hope you did. But like, when are we going to stop with it, man? Like, yeah, the Bears. It's the same old Bears, and maybe they do get their heads out of their hind ends eventually, and they decide to do productive things. That's the sad part, is they're trying. Like, they should have won this game, and maybe that's why we are all in this euphoric glow of the post-win. It's because we have a QB that was like, yeah, you should win this game. And if we play this game 10 times and I'm not at QB, you win this game 10 times because this was on a silver platter for you. But I'm not that guy, and tonight's not the night. Like, and so I don't want to get too high on my own JJ McCarthy supply because I was, again, this shot was inside out for a long time tonight, okay? And then I flipped it back around, and I got yelled at for flipping it back around after the second touchdown pass. And then he scored a third touchdown, and I felt like everything was going to be okay. But as a Bears fan, you have to leave this thinking 1,000% your team fumbled this away, and all of this was supposed to be Eberflus's fault. But now Ben Johnson is doing it. What's wrong? What's the problem? And I'm going to tell you right now, the problem's the QB. Caleb Williams is not a good QB. He's not going to be a good QB. He missed too much tonight. Too many, game-breaking opportunities he missed tonight. And, yes, he extended some plays and got him a nice 15-yard gain, but when it really mattered and all eyes are on you and it's the fourth quarter with 2 minutes and 30 seconds left and you have DJ Moore wide open for a touchdown, you overthrew him by 10 yards. Like, not even close, not even competitive. So I think that until they figure that out, they're kind of up crap creek without a paddle. So trying to stay PG here and buttoned up. But Dustin, I'm curious your thoughts, and we don't have to go into a whole Bears thing, but I'm just curious your thoughts on, if you were a Bears fan, what do you do?
I think this one was so crushing. First of all, it was the crescendo of their eternal offseason. Like, we won the summer, bitches. That's what we did. Like, Justin Fields go MVP. They used to say that out every year. So they had this crescendo, and then they went up against the Vikings team that looked moronic. That looked like, all right, yeah, they didn't find their guy in McCarthy. We're going to take this one. The game was 17-6, and they kept saying it on the broadcast. I kept telling my wife, God, we're only down by 11 points. That's why I maintained hope. I was like, I just feel like they're going to come back, which I usually don't say. So even though the emotions felt like, yeah, the Bears are the better team tonight, the tide changed so fast. Like, after the Deshaun Wright pick six, I'm sure Bears fans were like, June, July, and August, we said this, we're going to be good. But then it's like the Vikings did like the Rocky IV thing when that Soviet trainer goes, and then Drago just snaps and turns into that's what the Vikings did. And then there was no looking back. It got suspenseful. But I think because they convinced themselves for about an hour that the Vikings didn't show up to play, one of their most hated rivals, by the way. We're at home. We've got the head coach that everybody wanted. First overall pick, Caleb. He's going to turn it around. He's been escaping sacks like nobody else. All of that probably propped them up to feel like they were the real deal. Well, welcome to NFC North. No team is easy. And the Vikings just so happen to have a quarterback who's evidently deadly in the clutch. So I don't know. I just think that they probably went through it a lot. I was surprised that Aikman and Buck were dressing it up as this moral victory because I think they were probably, Bears fans were probably pretty gutted by that. And on Caleb Williams, like I still think he has time to develop. I don't think he's ever going to be awesome. But for now, when I see all the glitz of him able to escape a sack, it reminds me of an NBA player when I was a teenager, Jason Williams. Like, awesome, but we don't ever mention him along with any great point guards because he was just flashy and he could dribble awesome. And then that was about it. Like, he didn't really shoot well. He was on some good teams. That's how I perceive him. Like, it looks cool, the aura, But right now, Caleb has to take that next step. And if he does, it doesn't feel like it's going to be like this month or so, even with Ben Johnson there.
Let's get nuts, boys. Let's have a conversation. If you're drafting, and the way the draft board falls, you have to pick between J.J. McCarthy or Caleb Williams. Like, the contracts are relatively the same. Like, who would you rather be? Which would you rather have? Because, again, we've only seen one game of McCarthy, but, if McCarthy has that in his bag, I kind of like that. You know what I mean? I don't know. Williams seems too inaccurate.
I'll just be quick. This is not a prisoner of the moment take because I said it, I don't know, whatever it was, 16, 17 months ago. You can go back and look. McCarthy's the guy I wanted in the draft. And it wasn't May, it wasn't Williams, it wasn't Penix. I wanted J.J. McCarthy, and so it's an easy one for me. I still want that guy.
Hell yeah.
With Caleb, leading up to that draft, it was extensive because we were watching it with intentful eyes. We needed a quarterback. I remember thinking, the only hesitation I have is he feels like he might have that Kyler Murray personality where maybe aloof, temperamental, when shit goes bad, he's like that. Not necessarily the video game problem, but kind of like he marches to the beat of his own drum type of thing. And then the Tyler Dunn reporting comes out at the worst possible time on Friday or wherever that was, where it basically said that, hey, Eberflus, however you say his last name, wasn't necessarily the devil. Caleb just didn't do a whole lot of the work. That is what I was sort of afraid of. Now, if Caleb Williams would have fell into the Vikings' lap at pick number 10 or whatever been, I would have been happy, and I would have trusted KOC to develop him. For me, it's whether or not I would have taken Drake May now or J.J. McCarthy. I don't know. I'd probably still go with Drake May because I know that he's going to be good so long as Vrabel sticks around. But it's hard to watch McCarthy 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter at a Soldier Field where a place, up until recently, the Vikings never play well. They always play like garbage, and sometimes they win 13-9. So tonight, I'm certainly taking McCarthy over Caleb Williams, and then I'd have to have a longer debate inside my head about Drake May or J.J. McCarthy.
And what about, we should have known we were winning this game the entire evening, fellas. Will Reichert hit a 59-yard field goal.
The most boring 59-yard field goal in Vikings history that we didn't even care about.
I think that was...
Just right down the middle.
Yeah, right down the middle. He would not have made it from 61. Might have snuck it in from 60. But he made a 59-yard field goal. And I remember saying... Yeah, it was legitimately game-saving. And I remember saying in that moment, and this was kind of to the detriment of J.J. McCarthy, I guess, I was like, do they not trust him to be able to throw a quick out reliably, or to reliably run a play where it's snap ball, run to the right for 3 seconds, and then throw it out of bounds? Because if you miss that field goal, you're giving them the ball with 6 seconds at midfield. That's a Hail Mary. Who knows? It just felt like giving them a shot that you didn't need to give them because you were down. And so it worked out, but it was an odd thing. I don't know. KOC, I am unhappy with him after the 3 quarters of that game. I was really pretty mad at him. That clock management was poo-poo. I feel like the training wheels were, I don't know what was going on, but the offensive play calling, as Dustin was saying, trying to call this small ball style of offense, that was all crap. Whatever he game planned for the last 6 months needs to be put in a locker, like Raiders of the Lost Ark. Put it in a box and ship it away to where it will never be seen again. And and this is the crazy thing, and this one's a Jordan Hawthorne original. You can quote me on it. Just run the Sam Darnold offense, but let J.J. McCarthy do it. Because that Sam Darnold offense was really explosive and good. And see if J.J. McCarthy can do that. And then it felt like they kind of got into that later in the game. They started actually throwing some deeper down the field routes. And it helps a lot that, Jordan Mason really picked up. That's something we should probably talk about. Jordan Mason now be 1, right? Aaron Jones is now the 2. He's the change of pace back, in my opinion. I think Mason had a really good night, and I don't think Aaron Jones did.
Well, Aaron Jones
is a wide receiver now.
Yes, Aaron Jones is a wide receiver. He's a DPI machine.
When you're talking about O'Connell, for better or worse, I think at the time, the way things were going, it was like, God, if we throw this 1 inch too short from out of bounds, we're gonna just cough up 3 points. I have faith that Riker can hit that. I think that's the only mentality. I also wish on the 2-point conversion after the penalty, first and goal, or two-point conversion from the 1. Just give us Jordan Mason. Let's try this after you spent all this money on the offensive line. But nope, we throw the little cute play to Josh Oliver, who just couldn't make a play. That was one grievance I had with O'Connell. Here's what I gleaned from the Riker connection from 59 yards. I think it was the longest or tied for the longest in the history of that stadium. There are games, you guys know these well, I've probably talked about them on your show before. There are Vikings games where everything goes wrong. And like 2022 at the Packers, week 17 or 18, whatever it was. And it's one of the things I hate about Vikings football is when things start to spiral. It's like once every 2, once every 3 years, you can see the bad stuff happening, and then it occurs before your very eyes. It's like anxiety. Like, oh God, I hope they don't. Oh, there is the fumble. So when Riker came out for that kick, I was like, this son of a bitch is going to miss this, isn't he? Because everything has gone wrong. But when he hit that with ease, I was like, you know what? This is not one of those games. I'm not going to keep thinking like this. We have McCarthy. He's eventually going to turn it around. And then he did.
I love it.
Can we just remark at how Andrew Van Ginkel almost had another one of those pick sixes?
That's insane. Why do they keep doing it? Why do teams keep doing it?
Do people not watch film? It's this thing where if you see Andrew Van Ginkel standing up on that side of the line of scrimmage, don't throw a screen to his side of the field. It's funny. I think it was during training camp. He actually did that to Brett Rippon, rest in peace. And that was what Josh Metellus said, I think it was Josh Metellus. He said, "Don't you guys watch film?" And it's he's still doing it. The beardless Viking is still doing it. Just a couple things, just to drive the nail further into the Bears' coffin in this fumbling away of a game, as we've said now. The missed opportunities they had, I started writing them down as the game was going on. Before the game even flipped, I started writing them down because they were noteworthy. The first one was a Dan Campbell special, when Ben Johnson went for it on 4th and 3, in Vikings territory, in field goal range. They're up 7-3. Rather than just take the points and go up a touchdown against a team that was struggling to move the ball, he went for it on 4th down and they threw an incomplete pass. So there's 3 points he just left on the board there. Then there was the missed field goal by Cairo Santos after 2 penalties pushed him back. I think there was a hold, and then there was the Caleb Williams falling over intentional grounding. That actually led to the Vikings' first touchdown, so that's sort of a 9-point swing because the Vikings then went down and scored 6. They had 127 penalty yards. I don't even know how that's possible. And then, of course, there's the Eric Wilson punt block.
It didn't turn out too disastrous for them somehow.
Yeah, it could have been. It could have been worse for them. I think the Vikings did score. They scored a touchdown on the next drive, though, right? And
yeah, that was the McCarthy scramble, I think.
Yeah, gave him a short-ish field. But, I mean, that's just 4, and there's probably more of them, of just missed opportunities that the Bears had in a 3-point game. And then, I mean, even if you just do the flip side of the missed 50-yarder by Cairo Santos, Will Reichard makes the 59-yarder. I mean, there's just pain and little things. And we all, I don't know. This is how NFL games are won. It's in the margins. People are always remarking at, the Vikings keep getting by the skin of their teeth. But a trademark of the O'Connell era here has been limiting mistakes and winning in the margins. They win all these close games because they win in the margins. And this was a scenario where they didn't necessarily win in the margins. The Bears just lost.
I love that there's like this. This is a new debate that's happening, and it's starting to get to the national media level, which I personally appreciate. This idea that winning one-score games is as fluky as just flip a coin and one side call heads, the other call tails, and Kevin O'Connell just has a horseshoe up his butt, and that's why they keep winning in one-score games. Like, no, this is a coaching thing. We're going to know, like, this is a dumb thing. Ty Chandler bringing that ball out of the end zone is a one possession game winning play, because you catch it, you go down, they get the 2-minute warning and a timeout. They're going to get the ball back with a lot of time. They're going to have to, they're going to be able to run some plays. He brings it out. All of a sudden they get the ball back with 10 seconds, 5 minutes later, whatever it is in real time. And they get, they have a penalty, so it's really 5 seconds, and then they try and do some, flippy nonsense to win the game, and it doesn't go anywhere because they hardly ever do. So, like, this idea that, oh, well, the Vikings, they always win one-score games, so that's going to regress now, and they will be really bad all of a sudden. Like, they're going to go 0-16 in them, is nonsense to me, because I think Kevin O'Connell has shown his teams are intelligent, his teams know the moment, and his teams respond to the moment. And it just, I get that the Vikings defense, the first year O'Connell got here was so bad, we shouldn't have expected them to do anything, because, yeah, I get Pat Pete's probably not going to get a big-time interception in every game to walk it off, but now that they're an actual complete team, I think we can kind of expect them to do well in one-score games, because the funny thing is, all of the really good teams that are good every year are usually really good in one-score games, and they don't regress somehow. It's, they go from going 8-1 in one-score games to going 6-2 or whatever the math, 6-3, and they still end up in the playoffs and beyond or whatever. So it is almost 1 a.m. for me down here in Cincinnati, and we are not doing a second show this week to cover the Atlanta game, as I am in Bristol, Tennessee until Sunday. So I will be driving home, and I won't have to, like I did with the Texans game last year, I watched it on my tablet in the passenger seat and just went I put my earbuds in so that I could be isolated, and just went bananas at many points. That was a fun game to just be driving home or riding home to watch. But I will actually get to watch the game from a couch. I don't know if I'll go over to my dad's or not. I will have been gone for an entire week, so almost a whole week. So we're gonna throw some predictions up on the board really quick for the Atlanta game. Yeah, we're gonna have to. I mean, like, just there's no analysis. I'm not gonna, obviously there's a lot that's unknown. Is Harrison Smith gonna play? Is Darisaw gonna play? We don't know any of this stuff. So I'm gonna say Darisaw does play. I'm gonna say the Vikings will beat the Atlanta Falcons. I'm gonna say 31. I'm just gonna keep predicting them to score over 30 until it happens. That's going to be my new tradition. I'm going to say they put up 31. They're going to win 31-27. And J.J. McCarthy will actually look pretty okay for the entire game and not look like he was a generational flop for 45 minutes and then turn into prime Brady for the last 15. So he has a complete game. I have the defensive game ball, so I will just throw the name out of the hat. We'll go with Van Ginkel because I bought my wife his jersey this offseason, and he'll get a pick six because teams just will not allow him to not throw screens against him. So those are my official predictions. Will, I'll let you give yours, and then Dustin, just for fun, I want to get yours.
I will go Vikings will win 26-20. And because I have had no time to think about this, I'm not going to give any analysis. Offensive game ball, Justin Jefferson's going to get a bunch of yards. It didn't happen today. It's going to happen next week. I mean, it's just...
I love it.
The odds.
The one analysis I do want from you, because I think we can glean this from this game. Will J.J. McCarthy look better for an entire game next week?
Yes.
I have the Vikings. I really thought the Vikings would find a way to lose tonight, like before, like they came back and everything. I was like, God, Soldier Field, McCarthy, first game, there's going to be some weird shit that happens. They're going to lose by 3. I was wrong. So I'm done picking against them. I do think they're better than the Falcons from head to toe. McCarthy showed me that although he might look rocky at times, which we should all expect, he turns into that guy when you need him. So I think the Vikings will win 27-20. Jefferson's due for a 150-yard game, and then I think Grenard will finally get home on a sack or two. I saw on Twitter while we were talking in our last segment here, this was really cool. Right after McCarthy had thrown, this is from Ben Gessling, right after McCarthy had thrown his pick six, they were down 17-6. In the huddle, he looked at his teammates and said, "Where would you rather be?" And Justin Jefferson said it juiced us up. He never gave up. That was the big thing about it. So almost like a miniature Joe Montana moment, like, hey, is that John Candy? JJ McCarthy asked his teammates where they would rather be. The last thing I'll say on this, because he has to be called out, is Miles Price played hell of a game as a punt returner. He looks like another Kwesi UDFA special. We have this debate on Vikings Twitter whether or not Kwesi having UDFAs on his team means that he can't draft, like their spots therefore open. It's kind of a way to take somebody's flowers away from them if you're like really nitpicking. But Miles Price, I don't care if he was undrafted and some other guy didn't pan out as a draft pick. Miles Price deserves to be on an NFL roster. He didn't. I kept thinking one of these returns is going to be a fumble the way this night is going. That didn't happen. Miles Price was effective. We've had a safe punt returner in Brandon Powell, but we haven't had a safe one and like a threat probably since Marcus Sherrills. So shout out to Miles Price. I think he has staying power in this league.
Fitting that you compare J.J. McCarthy. Yeah. You say he had a Joe Young moment on a night where he became the first rookie quarterback to overcome a 10 or more point deficit in his debut since Steve Young, the guy who took Joe Montana's job. But,
unbelievable. Same
neighborhood, right? That same, whatever. Mm-hmm. So very fitting. I don't know if you guys watched, and now I'm just gonna really just dive into the McCarthy love. His post-game interview, that's part of the reason why I was even later getting home from my dad's, was because I saw they were interviewing McCarthy. What?
Just get in the car and drive, man.
I can't.
Making us wait so you can watch the ESPN interview.
It wasn't the full interview. It was just like the immediate aftermath. And they said, like, when hopefully you have a long career and you look back on this moment tonight, what are you going to remember? And he said, getting the win. And I was like, chills in my spine. I'm going to marry this man. Like, I don't know. I don't know if he's going to have a little boy or a little girl. I'm raising my daughter specifically. It is Operation Become Mrs. McCarthy. That's the goal now. Is I want my daughter to grow up and marry into that family, so I can be somehow related to that. And again, he might end up sucking. None of us know. We're all pretty confident that we're gonna get more the latter than the former for JJ, or late game than early game. But man, what a performance! What a night for Vikings fans. I will let you guys close us out with any final thoughts you have, and thank you guys for tuning in, whether live or post.
Go ahead, Dustin. I'll close it out.
I think I'm going to reiterate what I said about a half hour ago. While J.J. McCarthy may not be like Jaden Daniels from last year, there is no way that it was a sheer accident. This was one good game, and then it's all downhill in a bad way from here. There is no possible way that shit happens. This was an omen. This wasn't an outlier. J.J. McCarthy's going to be good. He might have a game next week where it's like, well, he didn't have any comeback theatrics, but if he did it in his very first game, I'm telling you, man, he's going to be. I keep saying this for the last 16 months. I know McCarthy is going to be good, mainly because Kevin O'Connell is his tutor. For me, it's trying to figure out, is he going to be like Derek Carr good? Or is he going to be Patrick Mahomes good? Or like right in the middle somewhere. So trying to figure out what his floor is and then how awesome he can be. That is what I feel in my bones. I know he's going to be good, and he proved it tonight.
I'm just got to give credit where credit is due. Miles Price and Eric Wilson made me eat crow tonight. They were two guys that I had zero belief in, and I thought the Eric Wilson signing was a gimmick. I wasn't into it. Again, it was all this talk in Minnesota about, oh, we got him back, and I was just not that thrilled about getting a special teams backup linebacker back in the fold, and he played outstanding. Miles Price, I mean, I'm on record saying about a week before the season opener, the Vikings do not have their returner on their roster. They need to sign somebody. It appears that I am wrong in that regard. And to your point, Dustin, let's hope that J.J. McCarthy does not have to bring out these comeback theatrics every game, because we don't need that. We don't need the cardiac kids every single week. Once in a while is just fine. My final thought. Kevin O'Connell has not lost a game at Soldier Field.
My goat.
The House of Horrors for the Vikings for so long. He has not lost a game at that stadium. Fantastic. We'll leave it there. Like Jordan said, there will not be a show previewing the Falcons game. We'll be back to recap Sunday Night Football early next week. For Dustin, for Jordan, this is Will signing off.